Hey, that's Gooch.
And that is the heavily bearded Keys.
And this is the RogueHead Huddle, presented by RGR Football. Gooch, let's pay those bills.
Appreciate everybody that watches this content, whether religiously or in passing. Make sure you check out the RGR store for merch. Go follow or go watch all the other episodes on RGR. Follow, like, subscribe, RGR. Check out Chris Clark, Chief in the North. Get the newsletter on Substack. Yeah, let's take this walk, y'all.
All right, we're going to have a fun time. One of our last episodes, we did Steal and Cut with the AFC West. Of course, that makes it a lot more fun because, we can be more vicious and we play those guys 6 games in our schedule. But this time we're going to do the NFC West edition, Steal and Cut. So we're going to steal one offensive player and one defensive player from each team in the NFC West. And then we're going to cut a guy off their roster so that they don't have them.
NFC West. That's
the Seahawks,
San Fran
Rams,
Seahawks,
Cardinals, 49ers.
Okay.
So let's start with this. We'll start with the Seahawks, former AFC West team that some of us still hate because of that. So
I'll start. Steal, cut.
Go ahead.
Steal and cut. I would steal. This is going to be weird. Because I would normally say I would steal DK Metcalf. Because I really liked him coming out of college. But I would actually steal Jamal Adams. Because 2 landlords in that secondary would be vicious. If Thornhill's actually back, because Jamal could take Dan's role, and that would be a mean-looking secondary, and I would cut Russell. I don't want you to have Russell.
All right, we're gonna do offense and defense. You can keep
okay.
DK.
Defensively, I would take Jamal and cut Bobby Wagner. Offensively, I would take DK and cut Russell.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking DK as well, and I think I had originally planned to cut Russell as well, but I'll switch it up and I can't think who's the guy. Was it? He played at K-State. The other receiver.
Lockett.
Yeah, Lockett. Yeah. Maybe I'll take him and cut DK and then leave Russell with nothing.
Wow.
That could be vicious.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Either way, I'll take one of the receivers and I'll cut the other one. And then yeah, I was gonna say Wagner. Jamal Adams is good at blitzing, but I think I'll take Wagner. I want to continue to strengthen the linebacking core, and I'll cut Adams. And I think those moves would kind of leave them a little defenseless, no pun intended. All right, let's move on to we'll move on to the team we just saw, the Cardinals. You want me to take this one first?
Yeah, you're gonna have to take this one first.
All right, I'm gonna cut. This is the easy cut for me. I'm gonna cut Kyler because their second string quarterback is Colt McCoy. I don't care who your receivers are. You might do decently, but you're not going to do the same as you can with Murray's legs. So cut Kyler. Man, this is a hard one. If we hadn't drafted Creed, I might say steal Rodney back.
Yeah.
But and I think I'll just take another receiver. Let's see, which receiver do I want? DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, I'll add D-Hop to our offense, and I'll cut Rodney Hudson from their offense. On defense, I'm going to take Isaiah Simmons. Not just because he's been playing that linebacker, but because he can kind of do that hybrid thing. So
Right.
I would, if you put Isaiah Simmons with the Honey Badger and you put them on the same team, I think Spags would just like lose his mind with the things that he could do. The versatility those two guys would bring. So we'll take Isaiah, we'll steal Isaiah Simmons and we'll cut Byron Murphy. I was going to say J.J. Watt, but I kept thinking about Murphy's coverage the other night. And so I think I'll just say Byron Murphy on that.
Okay. I would take D-Hop as well because I love his hands. And I would cut Kyler. For sure. You know what? Actually, that's a lie. I would take D-Hop, but I would cut. Nah, I'd still cut Kyler. Just because, like you said, Colt McCoy, I mean, we've seen that play out. So, and without D-Hop, the only person Colt has to throw to is A.J. Green. And I don't care how much they say this A.J. Green looks like 2012 A.J. Green. I didn't see that. So I'd let him throw to A.J. and I'd keep D-Hop. And on defense, I actually think we're the same there. I actually would take Isaiah and cut Byron Murphy because I believe J.J. Watt at 34, 35, whatever he is now, is a situational pass rusher at best. Strong as an ox and probably could still surprise some people with some pass rush moves or whatever, but I don't think he's 80% of the snaps kind of guy anymore. So I would do that. I would take Isaiah Simmons and cut Murphy because Murphy, he looked like he has some coverage skills in that game. He definitely instinctual, and I wouldn't like that going against me. So there we go. Oh, please. Next is the 49ers.
49ers. Let's do 49ers.
I would, and I cannot think of that receiver's name. Any other time, I would know it.
Debo?
Yeah. But you know what? I'd cut Debo Samuel, and I would take George Kittle. Because I think a tandem of Kelsey and Kittle would be Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski all over again. I mean, without the fatalities. Yeah, I would cut Debo, and I would take Kittle. And the reason why I'm not cutting Jimmy G is because I really think Trey Lance has some potential, and I don't want him to find it against me. So as long as he can stay a backup.
So you could cut Trey and force him to have to play Jimmy.
That's true. That's a good call. Defensively, I would take the Bosa boy. I can't remember which one it is.
Nick. Yeah.
Nick, yeah. I couldn't remember his first name. I knew Joey was with the Chargers, but I would take Nick Bosa, steal him, and just because I'm spiteful, I'd cut D Ford.
Yeah, that I hadn't even thought about D. All right, I'm going to say I'm kind of torn. I'm going to take George Kittle too. I'm going to steal him. And I was kind of debating with myself whether I would cut Kyle Juszczyk.
Oh, Juszczyk's a good one.
Just to steal the fullback from their team. and like eliminate that guy from their team, or Mostert. Is he still with the 49ers, Mostert?
I believe he is.
Just because of how fast he is, and try to force them to do what they do with a different running back. So I've been trying to have that debate. I mean, Kittle, that's the easy one. I mean, it's clearly the easiest call. And so, man, I mean, it's a pick 'em at this point. Either Kyle or Raheem Mostert, just cut one of those two guys. I think if you lose either one of those guys from that team, but man, the way that offense runs with Shanahan's system, I mean, it almost doesn't matter. Just like it didn't matter with Kyle's father, Mike. The replaceability of the running backs in that system, and so I think I'm just gonna say, cut Kyle from that team. Like, they like to use that fullback. Good luck finding a guy that can do the same things that he can do. And so I think that's my offense. I'm with you. Again, taking Nick Bosa. I mean, that would allow us to cut Frank Clark after this season.
Lord. Yes, Lord.
And man, the defensive cut on that team. I'm thinking Drake Kinlaw, or Greenlaw, Drake. I just named like two different players. There's Javon Kinlaw and Dre. What's his last name? Whatever his name is. The linebacker, Dre. Greenlaw, yeah, I thought that was right. The Kinlaw throw me for a loop. Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker. All right. So the Rams. And suddenly I'm thinking about their defense, and it's hitting me how hard this is. Do you? Man, do you take? I mean, imagine if we were fans of another team and we had to do this for the Chiefs, and you have to either cut or steal Tyreek or Travis. Like, this is like a heightened version of that. I mean, it's obvious. You're either taking Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey, and you're obviously cutting the other one. And so, man, that's hard. Like, I still think I have to take Aaron Donald and cut Jalen Ramsey, because if you put Aaron there, and even if you move Chris Jones right back next to him, like, you're not double teaming. You're not double teaming both of those guys. So you put them both right there in the middle, and you're getting that immediate pressure from one of them, because you can't double both of them. And so you do that, and it almost doesn't matter who your cornerbacks are, because the quarterback's not even going to have a chance, and the running back's definitely not running inside. And so, man, I mean, that part's easy. On offense, trying to think who's there. I'm gonna have to think about this one. I'm gonna let you go ahead and do your defense.
Defense, that's a no-brainer. Aaron Donald cut Jalen Ramsey, because if you could picture a defensive front of Jerron Reed, Aaron Donald, Chris Jones on one end, and if we're sticking to it, even if you don't stick with the steel cut from what we just did, but you could put anybody on that other edge, and I really don't think it matters, because Chris Jones and Aaron Donald, they said it in the NFL's top 100. As far as three tech goes, there's Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and then there's everybody else. So if you stick Aaron Donald, who obviously is slightly better than Chris, with Jerron Reed in there, and you put Chris on the end, you can run a rotation of people on the other edge, and that is nasty. And I agree with you. At that point, I just don't want to see Jalen Ramsey because with that kind of front, even Charvarius Ward would look like an all-pro because he wouldn't have to stick to his man very long. Now, I say that, and I want to give Ward credit. He put a hit on that running back from Arizona, and he worked his way through that line for that stiff tackle. And you don't. The one thing I will give Lil Moody and LJ, L'Jarius Sneed, a lot of credit for her. They are some tackling corners. They do not make business decisions. They are in there to tackle. I just don't like how he plays every other aspect of the cornerback position, but that's just me. And as far as offense goes, I would. They don't have anybody that I would really consider taking, honestly. Right. That running back that just got hurt, he would have been a good backup to Clyde or a kind of a thunder and lightning thing. I can't remember his name, though. Yeah, I would have brought in, is it Cam Akers?
Yeah.
I would steal him, and I would cut. I'd cut their left tackle. Why? For no other reason than I don't believe Matthew Stafford is as great as everybody thinks he is. And I'd really like him. I'd really, really like to see how he'd do without protection. I mean, we give Stafford a lot of leeway because we say, oh, it was the Lions and this, that, and the other, but he had protection in Detroit. So if a quarterback's job is a good quarterback, great quarterback's job is to make everybody around them better, the Lions should have been better than what they were. My opinion, I'm not a Lions fan. I don't care. I just think that Matthew Stafford is going to get into the Hall of Fame without having accomplished anything. And it's strictly because of his numbers. And people are going to be like, oh, but he was with the Lions. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking because I'm thinking I might steal Stafford just to make him our backup.
Really?
I don't know, maybe. That's not a knock on Henny, but I mean, you know.
Henny, Stafford is not going to be, how old is Henny? 38?
Yeah, he's not a young'un.
I tell you what, Stafford isn't making that run against Cleveland. He's throwing an interception and throwing the ball away. I promise you that.
Yeah, he's not making the run, but I think I don't know, steal Cooper Kupp and.
Oh, I forgot Cooper Kupp was there. I like that guy.
And cut Robert Woods, and then who does Stafford throw to? Well, they do have that kid that Ryan liked coming out as a conversion to tight end. Jacoby Harris. Can't remember what the kid's name was, but I know Ryan liked him as a possible someone who he thought with the athletic matrix, that guy at tight end compared to wide receiver would like put him at the top, and so I think he went to the Rams, so he could be an intriguing guy if we didn't already have Fortson and Gray. Anyway, all right, so that completes it, right? We did all 4 teams.
That's right.
Man, yeah, that would be that would be kind of fun to have some of those guys. I think if you pushed me and told me we could actually have one of the guys that we talked about, I think that man, I would probably be torn between, and I know saying the word torn is going to throw you here, but kind of thinking age-wise and price-wise and versatility-wise, I'd be kind of torn between Donald and Simmons. Like one of those 2 guys, I would definitely take on this roster right now, and I would definitely trade D-Rob for them.
Now, see, I would say Donald and Jamal, because you've got the presence up front, and Jamal, like I said, is basically Tyrann Mathieu light. And so if you have both of them, I think Spags would lose his mind. Yeah, that's where I am. It would have, and I would trade. I would trade D-Rub and Ward. I'd give him half my roster. D-Rub, Ward, Armani Watts, Dorian O'Daniel, and quite possibly Hitchens, if Bolton is going to be as good as they think he is for them. And some cash considerations because they used to do that, but
Yeah.
That's just me. But definitely Ward. And I'm terrible. I'm sorry.
I mean, if I definitely got 2, I would take those guys. And I guess on offense, if I got any of those guys, I would go Kittle and D-Hop.
Agreed.
Like those are no-brainers.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, that's a Madden roster, and that wouldn't even be fair. Like, I mean, it just wouldn't be fair.
What scares me about that is who's the coach if we were to get those players. And I only say that because Andy Reid is probably the only coach that actually had a dream team, and it went badly. He had a Madden roster with the Eagles at one point in time, and it went badly. Sometimes, I think that's where, but on the flip side of that, he also was running, he was, GM and coach.
Yeah.
So he probably would be able to do it more so now. I mean, well, if you want to be honest, heck, he's actually got almost a Madden roster right now. If you take Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, and Clyde, who obviously they're trying to get more involved in the offense. And on defensive end, if Thornhill's back, Thornhill, Matthew, L'Jarius Sneed, Chris Jones, Jerron Reed, who else? And if Gay and Bolton live up to the hype, it's going to be pretty decent. And I've heard that Bo P. Keys is turning things on in camp. For all you Bo P. Keys haters, Dan. I want that kid to do well.
I want everyone to do well, but yeah, I hadn't heard that. I like hearing that it had been a little quiet on the Bo Peep Keys front, so I like the last name. So
Me too. I know why you like it, Keys.
all right, let's get on to some maybe not quite as lighthearted conversation here, and let's talk about why. And this is nothing against Jody Fortson, but why is he even allowed to wear number 88? Because why have we not retired number 88 from our team? What do you think, Gooch?
First, I'm going to start with why haven't the Patriots retired 87? Because obviously outside of TB12, he's probably their second greatest player in franchise history. Two, I find it I don't know. It's so weird because it I have my thoughts on it, but then like other teams haven't done it. Dallas didn't retire 88 for Michael Irvin. We haven't retired 88 for Tony, and I think you know what is Tony in the ring yet?
I don't know.
I don't know why you wouldn't. It can't be animosity with TG because first of all, that was Carl's doing, King Carl's doing. He offered the trade, I believe it was King Carl, offered the trade to get Tony out because he wanted Tony to be on a winner and we weren't winning. And he wanted Tony to try and get, because Tony would have stayed, but they wanted him to at least have a chance to win a Super Bowl before he retired for all the community and stuff he'd done for the Chiefs. I would almost call it a slap in the face, but I don't think Tony is dwelling on it. Otherwise, I'd be on his side if he was like, "Why haven't you retired my number?" I honestly think maybe nobody's gotten around to it or thought about it, or I think it's just a thing. What do you think?
Okay, just to add on there, Tony was inducted into the Ring of Honor in 2018. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy who was inducted to the Ring of Honor, who has now been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and it's kind of like, what are you waiting for with the Chiefs? The guys that have had their number retired either died tragically or have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Some of them, one of them, Derek Thomas, did he get inducted to the Hall of Fame?
I believe he is in the Hall posthumously.
I'm going to say, in his case, it would be both, but I mean, generally it's been one or the other. It was what? Joe Delaney, I can't think of the guy that we talked about, Stone Jackson.
Yep.
And maybe one or two other players who died tragically, and then the rest is Hall of Famers. So, I mean, you're already in the Ring of Honor, and you're in the Hall of Fame now. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know if it doesn't have to do with his comments about the Falcons, like making his career, or however he phrased it.
Well, and maybe it's one of those things where, I mean, because the Falcons haven't retired it either. So I mean, but he went into the Hall with the Chiefs and the Falcons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, who knows? Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I don't see it the same way. Like the Falcons. I mean, at that point, why do you really care? You're getting a guy at the tail end of his career. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't. I can't. Like, I don't know. I mean, have we retired Montana's number? I mean,
nope.
He was just here for what, 3 years? 2 years? 3 years? And so, I don't know. Maybe Tony was with the Falcons longer than I remember, but I guess I don't see it like the same. But if it's not that, and it's like in my mind, and I don't know, maybe it's because I'm more petty, but if it's not that, and it's not the fact that he didn't go into the Hall of Fame with the Chiefs hat on, then I don't know what the answer is. Because it would seem like it's got to be one of those two things, because again, why not? And I don't know about Michael Irvin with the Cowboys. That's definitely kind of mind-boggling in and of itself. Maybe it's a problem with the number 88.
Maybe it's just one of those things where the Chiefs asked him if he wanted his jersey retired or whatever, his number retired, and he said no. I mean, because that's one of the things that Michael said. Michael was like, "Don't retire it. Let's see if somebody else can earn the right to wear it." I mean, and it's tough because I'm nostalgic, so I would be like, retire the man's number. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's before Patrick, and I'm not going to say Tony was the best to ever wear a Chiefs uniform because there's Derek and there's Len Dawson and Buck Buchanan and Bobby Bell, and I mean, there's so many people, you know what I'm saying? So you can't just sit there and say Tony was the best, but Tony revolutionized the position during his time, so it would almost be worth it to retire the number. I mean, I guarantee you, if Pat wins one more Super Bowl, 15 is done. No one else will ever wear it. It's a good one. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. All right. So I looked it up. Tony played with the Chiefs for 12 seasons. He played with the Falcons for 5. He was a 6-time first team All Pro. All of those, 5 of those were with the Chiefs. He was a 4-time second team All Pro. All of those were with the Chiefs. So he was a 5-time first team All Pro with the Chiefs and a 4-time second team All Pro with the Chiefs. And he had 1 first team All Pro with the Falcons, and like that was the extent of the All Pros. He had 14 Pro Bowls, and 10 of those were with the Chiefs. So I mean, he's part of the 2000s All-Decade team, the NFL's 100th anniversary all-time team. I don't know. Like this is crazy to me that outside of, you know, outside of the comments he made and that he didn't go into the Hall of Fame as a Chief, that I don't know what the
Did he?
explanation.
He went in. He went in as both, didn't he? As a Chief and a Falcon.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's still like the same thing. You know what I mean? It'd be like, man, I don't know what a good analogy would be here. I guess it'd be like if you died and like, you had 2 wives and your first wife was the mother of all your kids, right? And the second wife you just been married to, for a few years before you died, and you just split your estate between, you know, the 2 women's families.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah, I got it.
And so like if it was me, I again, and I can admit that I'm petty, but if it was me, I'd be like, wait a minute, why is this even, like, what is there really a reason that, we're not good enough that you go in with just a Chiefs hat on? Like, as Chiefs fans, should we have expected Montana to go into the Hall of Fame with both, 49ers and Chiefs? You know what I'm saying? And I know that's
Right.
a
No.
couple. It's a couple fewer years, but like the same. It's like the point to me. The point remains. You know,
Yeah, I get it.
like if Tom Brady goes on and he plays with the Bucks for another 3 seasons after this season, and he went in with, Bucks and Patriots. Like I think there would be a lot of pissed off Patriots fans. It'd be like, but wait a second.
You
And
spent
so
20 years here. Yeah, I get it.
and so with the Patriots, would Robert Kraft be like, you know what, screw that guy? I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's move on. We don't know the answer, guys. We don't know. We can only speculate. All right, here's an interesting question for us. What do Chiefs fans have to temper our excitement about right now during the preseason? We had training camp, preseason. What, in your opinion, are Chiefs fans like getting too excited, getting too hyped over, like a player, a position, spectacular play in a preseason game? Like, what do we need to, what do we need Gooch to give us a dose of reality on? He's too afraid to say it, guys.
Not because I usually get hatred, so let me go ahead and break it down for y'all. Yeah, we need to temper our excitement on everything because, yes, the line is rebuilt, but there's going to be hiccups. I actually don't think if this is the line that we're seeing, Brown, Tooney, Creed, Trey, and Niang, it's going to take a few weeks for them to gel. Yes, it looks good for a half, but right now we're not playing exotic defenses and first string all pros, and like you have to remember those guys are rookies, and yes, they look good against the second string, which they should be dominating second string defensive line.
Right.
But they didn't get JJ Watt in the Cardinals game, and they didn't get anybody from the first line defense in the Niners game. And so, because it looks like the Great Wall of Mahomes, there's going to be breakdowns. And also, too, Patrick's trying to work on stuff. I don't think he's going to come out of the gate slinging for 60 touchdowns like everybody assumes. I think the screen game wasn't in the playbook last year because they didn't have a preseason. But I don't think Andy's just going to open up the playbook and start chucking it all over the yard, which is why he got those boys, because I really think we're going to see a toned down offense. I mean, Andy's still going to throw it, but the point of handing that ball off, I mean, if you notice the last two games, the first three plays of every series, hand the ball off to Clyde. Like, he's going to run the ball. Um, and then on the defensive side, everybody looks good, but again, I mean, they're just everything's vanilla. Thornhill made that awesome interception, and I was actually surprised. And he says he's back. He's not back yet. That interception was a boost to his confidence, but he still doesn't trust that leg. That's my take on it. So you're going to see him still slow to react. And Chris Jones looks good running on that edge. He does. But again, where I've seen Chris mostly would put him against the left tackle. And we have a lot of stud left tackles that we're going to go against. So it's not going to be that easy as bowling over that center that don't nobody know and getting to the quarterback. If he's on the edge, he's going to be in for a fight. And I know he slimmed down to 310. Is it 310? 315?
I think it was like 295 if you're talking about Jones.
Yeah, I thought he wanted to get to 295, but he wasn't there yet.
He came into camp at like 292, and he said that he went out and ate a bunch of food, and he still only got up to 295. But he may have actually been able to add since then. But
the one thing about Chris is he's quick and powerful. But a lot of these left tackles are used to that, so they know how to handle a guy. I mean, he's going to get his,
right.
But it's still going to be a work of art still going to take some time, because even as great as Chris Jones is, and the new Sammy, if he ever gets healthy again, Frank Clark, we still have a weak linebacking core. You have to remember that essentially Willie Gay is still a rookie. One preseason, he's just now saying he's just now really learning the playbook, so he expects to grow by leaps and bounds. Bolton's going to be behind Hitch, but then there's Ben Neiman, who I don't know what they're doing, but We just need to slow down. 20-0 is not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I know Patrick says that's the only goal he thinks about breaking. 20-0 is not going to happen. I'd give him, 14-6, 15-5. But 20-0 is not going to just slow down, let the process work. The one thing you do have to give Brett Veach credit for is the line looked like trash in the Super Bowl. And we've discussed that. And I think what we forget is that our all-pro right tackle was hurt. Our Pro Bowl left tackle was hurt. And we had enough injuries that people were playing out of position on that line in the biggest game of their lives. So although it looks bad and everybody says, oh, the offensive line, remember that offensive line we had won a Super Bowl just the year before. It just became bad luck that Schwartz is back and Fisher tore his ACL in the AFC Championship game. And so then we were kind of plug and playing. And the one thing I think I don't even think time management is Andy Reid's biggest flaw. It's he falls in love with his guys, and I don't think there's a contingency plan. And it wasn't until the Super Bowl that everybody was like, oh, well, maybe we should have great backups just in case this happens. Because it was like, well, we don't need to worry about that. Patrick can perform miracles. So I would just ease up, relax, let the games come. And I still think we're going to win the majority of them, but I think there's going to be hiccups in the beginning. But we'll eventually find it. Now, the fan in me wants to say, this is going to be amazing. Andy Reid's going to put his foot on the coach's throats, and he's just going to run up the score like it's a Madden game, and we're going to go 20-0. The realist in me is just we just need to slow it down. Slow it down, let it come. Patrick's continuing to work on stuff. He's got to get timing down with his receivers. Tyreek, if that hamstring becomes a problem during the year, Kelsey's 31 and a lot of miles on him. So if he takes breaks, I mean, it's law of attrition says that we're going to hit some kind of stumbling block, and we just have to be prepared for it. Just ease up. Let them come along. We got great coaches. We'll be fine. Damn, I said that too long. What do you think?
I think that I think one of the big things is on Twitter, like people seem to forget that if you're watching a highlight of a Chiefs player doing something spectacular in training camp, at least, we're no longer there. We're in preseason, so we're seeing it against guys from other teams. But like all training camp long, it was, this highlight or that highlight, and it's like Chiefs fans have forgotten that if this guy is doing good, that means that this other guy who's also on your team on the other side of the ball isn't doing good. And so, it's like we root for one or the other when, we're not having joint practices. And so really the preseason games are like the first time that we're getting to see guys do stuff against guys who aren't our own guys. So we kind of get an idea of, well, is this guy just really great or is this guy not so great? But then at the same time, we have no idea what they're, working on. Like for us, their goal is to win a game. But for them, they have specific things that they're going into this game that they're trying to each work on. And so, for me, that's like, I believe that's the starter mentality, right? Whether it's Patrick, and I do believe in this last game that he was trying to work on his timing and chemistry with Hardman and D-Rob, and well, not necessarily D-Rob because he should already have it, but like Hardman and Pringle, and those guys, and maybe Brown's working on his pass sets, and so on and so forth. Everybody's working on their things. And then you see Henne come in, and the offense just seems to run a lot smoother. Um, and I think part of that is because once you get past the first string, like most of the other guys are playing for a job. They're not playing to get better, to work on this technique or that technique, or, because they have a game plan that they're trying to improve on necessarily. After the first string is out of the game, most of the guys who are in there, and maybe it's even more so with third and fourth string guys, they're there to ball out and to put themselves on tape to prove to the Chiefs or to another team that they belong on an NFL roster. So it's like it's different, So you see someone like Mahomes, and and then you see Henne comes in, and the offense just seemed to flow a lot better. Well, I think part of that was just because, maybe Pat had an off day, but I think a part of that was because Pat was working on things, and Henne was just like working on being productive with the offense that he was playing with. I mean, he's a backup. He's not worried about his job, at least not that any of us know of. In most people's minds, it is Mahomes and then Henne, and maybe we'll have a third quarterback, or Gordon and Buechele playing for the right to be our one practice squad quarterback. I mean, we don't know, but we would.
Now,
I was
I
going
just
to say
want to
we'd be
point out.
shocked if Henne got cut and they went with one of those guys as the backup. Is all I was going to say.
I think a lot of that too is dead on, but I don't think it's. I'm gonna expand on what you said. The highlights coming out of training camp that everybody's getting so hyped about. I have a friend who's a truck driver, and let's say they're taking the on ramp, and the on ramp sign says 45 miles an hour. And the way it was explained to me is it's 45 miles an hour when conditions are perfect, which is what training camp is. Condition perfect playing. I mean, yes, they're working on stuff, and I'm not trying to make light of what those guys do. It's a hard job, and not many people get into the NFL. But the highlights you see out of training camp are just that bright sunny day, conditions perfect. Nobody's really rushing Patrick um, with no intention. Like they're chasing, sure, but he knows, just like we all know, they're not going to lay a hand on him in training camp. And then two, I think, I think, I don't think he in the games that he's working on stuff. I think his timing's off because Tyreek and Kelsey aren't in there as often, and it flows smoothly with Henne because Henne throws to those guys. So in practice, let's say the ones are Hardman, Kelsey, Hill, Clyde, but when the twos step up, it's Henne, Pringle, and all those other, and D Rob and all them. And so they know Henne, and Henne knows them, and they've built that rapport. And maybe to the point to where those guys either feel like they're working to get better, but Patrick won't work, hasn't worked with them enough to where he understands them. Because I get you want to be where the quarterback expects you to be, but the flip side of that is the quarterback needs to know what his receiver is thinking. You know what I'm saying? The reason why the rapport with Kelsey is so great is Kelsey was a quarterback. So Kelsey knows where to sit. Tyreek has otherworldly speed. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing that sets apart the right now, the Mannings, the Bradys from Mahomes is when things get out of hand or when a new receiver comes in, they know where these guys are going to go. Even if it may not be where they should go based on the offense, but you can't tell me that. I mean, Tom Brady's thrown a touchdown to 150 other guys. You can't tell me they've all been perfect in their route running or where Tom expected them to be every single time. Same thing with Manning. He may not have a touchdown to all different receivers, but he's had a slew of different receivers, and it's not always going to be the way you expect it to be. So I think it kind of goes both ways. Patrick needs to learn his people just as much as they need to, Hardman's case, run through the freaking route and catch the ball, or or try to get open. I think Patrick needs to say, okay, I would want him to go here. And we've all heard how bright Patrick is. So this isn't out of the realm that his brain can process. Okay, I want them to go here, but I know he's going to cut back. So I should just throw the ball here and he'll be there to catch it. You know what I'm saying? I think as fans, the biggest onus is when it's all great, it's all Mahomes. When it's all bad, it's all receivers. And I'm not picking on Mahomes. Same thing with Brady. When Brady loses, it's never Brady's fault. Even though if you look at the box score and maybe the game, it probably was. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I just wanted to expand on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. And I know we talked about this before, but or earlier off air, but that is one area that I'd like to see Pat get better at is when you're working with receivers, especially Manning and Brady, like those guys grab those receivers, they make sure that those receivers come with them, and they're intentionally calling those guys out and making them come work together. And they're
Right.
making sure that they get all of this stuff worked out. Like I don't think it's necessarily on Hardman, um, talking about Hardman, though I do think that he should try to push the issue more, that he should be driven to be better. I think it's on Mahomes with each receiver, if he doesn't have a rapport with them, that he makes sure that he pulls them out, he singles them out, and he makes them come spend that time with him until they have that. And so I'd like to see that more from Pat.
And I think that's one of the things, and I'm glad you brought that up because as soon as you started talking just now, I started thinking Brady makes all his receivers either come to his house or to some field or whatever. Manning used to fly them out somewhere so they could work. I think is this Pat's fourth year as a starter?
Let's see. I believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I think in the 4 years, I've only seen film, and the Chiefs do this. So I've watched it. I've only seen film of Pat and the receivers working out one time, and that was the year he took over the starting role. Now, most of the film are highlights or whatever you see. Tyreek's working out by himself, or Tyreek's working out with Garrett Dieter, and Pringle's working out by himself, and Patrick's not throwing them the ball. Somebody else is. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Mm-hmm.
like you said, just to once again, I agree with you. He needs to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna be in Texas. Get down here and let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Or hey, I'm gonna be in Hawaii. Fly out and let's do this. You know, I realize face of the NFL, bigger spokesman, all that. And I know he goes to Texas and he works his behind off on his physical and trying to get better. But at some point, being the leader, if they don't want to hitch their wagon to you, you go back and tie their wagon to you and you pull them along. You know, I mean, the ultimate goal is the Super Bowl and championships and all that. Sometimes, uh, and we talked about this earlier off air, sometimes the Michael Jordan approach is the best approach. All right, I tried being your friend. Now I'm going to be the dictator. Get your behind in the wagon. Let's go. You know? Okay, I'm done. Again, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you want to be the best, if you really want to eventually be the GOAT, you have to do some of those things, whether it's things like that or, the rumor of Brady sending a text to his teammates every single night at the same time, the whole week leading up to the Super Bowl saying we're going to win, things like that, yeah, you hope to see. Going back to address things that you mentioned, and I think you're right with the offensive line. You know, we know those guys are all working on stuff, and we know that there's going to be growing pains, probably especially from Trey and Lucas if Reed ends up starting all three rookies there with Humphrey. And so I think we have to be prepared for that. I want to be cautious here because I'm still very bitter about the Super Bowl and the coaching staff's game plan heading into the Super Bowl. And I'm going to go ahead and take the side note here because I know somebody's going to say it. Someone always says it. But Britt Reed's accident was the Thursday of the Super Bowl. That means that they had 10 or 11 days to game plan, and Britt Reed's accident didn't have a freaking thing to do with the game plan. So please do not comment and say that to this video because that is the stupidest thing the fans say, trying to find an excuse to protect Andy, and it's bogus. It's not true. They didn't go wait till the Thursday of the Super Bowl to come up with their game plan and to install their game plan. So just stop with the nonsense. All right, now that I've said that, I'm sorry. It just that game plan was embarrassing. Like there's no when you as a fan leading up to the game are defending your coaching staff and you're saying, yeah, you know, we got these players out, but we have a smart coaching staff. They understand that the guys who are replacing them cannot do the same things that Mitch Schwartz did or that Eric Fisher did because they're not Mitch Schwartz and Eric Fisher. And when you put that trust in your coaching staff to have a brain, to have eyes, and to come up with a competent coaching, to come up with a competent plan, and it looked like they just recycled week 12, you know, first half game plan. Like, you know, it's aggravating. So I have to say that to preface this.
Hot take alert, y'all.
Because the smart thing would be knowing if they're going to start three rookies, the smart thing would be that if they're going to start three rookies and you know there's going to be some growing pains, my expectation of a smart coaching staff is that one, they're going to take a look at the defensive line, the defensive front seven of their opponents that they're facing each week on an individual basis, and they're going to say, is this defensive line likely to get home against our guys? And if the answer is yes, then you're going into it with the hope or with the expectation that you're going to call a bunch of RPOs. And you're going to tell Pat, if you have a light box, hand the ball off to 25. If they're stacking the box, go ahead and pass it. Like, no matter who the team is that you're playing, but especially taking a look at the defensive line that you're going up against and actually game planning against it instead of the arrogant idea that, okay, we're better than you, we're just going to go out and out-execute you. And, you know, it's kind of contradictory to the whole what's presented to the media, right? When we're talking, okay, you know, when we're talking, we do the whole Bill Belichick thing. You know, our opponents are great. We respect them. You know, this guy is a killer, you know, this and that. But, by the way, we're not actually going to game plan, you know, for this killer because we're just going to out-execute them, which is kind of contradictory and disrespectful. And so I think that you have to account for that as the offensive line gets eased in, that they're put in a position to succeed, which means that you're going to run the ball more, but more so that because Pat's a control freak, let's face it, Pat wants the ball in his hand every single play, that you're calling a high volume of RPOs, and that's what you're doing. That's taking the stress off the offensive line. That's giving them the opportunity to gel. That's giving Pat the opportunity to gel and to trust. And it's also helping out your passing game as the season goes on if you're successful at running the ball, because all of a sudden teams actually have to respect that you can run the ball. So that's just kind of my comment to the offensive line thing, because you're right. And hopefully Andy's strategy isn't, well, we're just going to practice and out execute, and if Pat gets killed, Pat gets killed. Because that was kind of what happened in the Super Bowl. And even though Veach is, kind of the one who kind of took some of the blame for that, or a good chunk of the blame for it, the reality was it was Andy's game plan that was utterly deficient and mind-boggling. So hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully they do account for the fact that if they start 3 rookies, they start 3 rookies. And I think Gooch is laughing because I'm doing the Gooch role right now, and he doesn't have to be the lightning rod. I'm going to take it off for him. But anyway,
I am okay with it.
That's what I got. I'm going to blame it on the beard, guys. Once I shave, I'll be a calm Kool-Aid drinking fan again.
Well, it's Keys Kellerman, ladies and gentlemen. I love it.
Where do we go from here? I don't know that we can go anywhere from here. I think we gotta end right here.
Well, if that's the case, then we appreciate all y'all who watch this content religiously or in passing. We hope all is doing well in your personal and professional life. I'm Gooch. That's Keys. Make sure you subscribe to the RGR channel. Obviously, you already have if you're members. If not, like, share, subscribe, go back, watch the other videos. Become a member, starter level and above. Join the Discord. You can talk to me and Keys anytime. Usually Keys is always there. I'm in and out a lot of times. Ryan's there. Dan's there. Make sure you go watch Locked On Chiefs. Ryan and Chris Clark do that. That's awesome. Matt Derrick's on there from time to time. Check out Chief in the North live stream Monday. Chief in the North live stream on Thursday. Seth Kaiser has a Substack where you can get the newsletter for, I think it's still $12 annually. Get that. It's a great read. We appreciate y'all stopping by. Catch you next time.
Peace, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.